Hey, cousin Curtis.
What's going on, cousin? It's early, cousin. It's early, cousin.
You
uh,
know, this will actually air Sunday night at 8 o'clock on Pod TV. We're going to be streaming in 177 countries. And you can find this on Roku and Amazon Fire. So I am elated because this is not our first podcast together, but my audience doesn't know you because I never post any of the podcasts that I record.
all right.
Have you ever seen any of our footage, Curtis?
On my phone.
On your phone, on your phone. Well,
That's it.
I would like to welcome SP the writer to the stage.
Good morning,
Good
everybody.
morning. Good morning. You're one of the few people in my world that is everywhere. And I still feel like, yo, can you please introduce yourself?
Oh man, Curtis Hill Jr. from Maysville, North Carolina. But I go by SP the writer in these artistry streets. Writer, producer, co-director of the Inspired Experience, which is a all-encompassing art extravaganza that happens at the Raleigh Convention Center.
Curtis, we're going to really dive into Inspired, but I need to give the audience some context about why I named the show Me and My Cousin.
Okay.
It's because I have a lot of friends who are like family.
All right.
And I'd like to talk a little bit about our first time meeting, and we've talked about it,
All
and
right.
there was definitely some like hometown feeling when I first met you, and I just remember saying, uh, what's your phone number? And you said 910.
All
Mm.
right.
That was all it took. There's only 17 people that live in the 910 area.
I think it's 15 now.
And so I was like, "Whoo, I think I got a cousin."
Right.
And I was like confident. And so what the only thing I could do was connect the dots. And I have tried to stop doing that. I literally have like stopped being so serendipitous, and I was like, I'm making these synchronicities. But Curtis, it wasn't just 910, and I remember I like got in your vortex. I stepped to you. I said, you know
Right.
Burn and Ashley.
Yeah, absolutely. I know them. Absolutely.
And over time, Curtis, the more we talked, I was like, no, I really do know this young man.
Yeah.
And it was the moment that I said, Curtis, did they used to wear overalls when you were playing basketball in high school?
Absolutely. My mama started that. My mama, Coach Rodney Young and Clyde Murphy. Those were the initial three that had on the overall bibs game.
Yes. And what was amazing to me is I got to share with you that I would get a phone call about, whatever I needed to pack for my son when I would take him to New Bern. And he was maybe 2, 3 years old. So this is very dated information because my baby is 26 now. And
Right.
I got a phone call. Shawnee's, you need to get the baby some overalls because we're going to the Jones senior game.
The countryest stuff of all time.
But it wasn't just overalls though. Because I heard bow ties and
Yeah, they had the black bow tie, then you had the white dress church shirt, and then you had the overalls with it, and then whatever black boots or black shoes they wanted to throw on. Yeah,
and this right here is family.
yeah,
this is when people say, "Are y'all really cousins?" I get to be honest and say, I've known Curtis since he was a young man.
Right.
And let me tell you something, Curtis, you could play basketball.
I was alright. I was alright. I was alright.
Well, it happened for me one day. You and I were talking, and I was like, "So you meet me, and you're like, oh, this is a lot because I just am, and I want to play at Inspired. It is my playground. This is, I didn't go into the whole breadth of what I do in life, but one of the things that I do is I'm an ambassador of tourism. And that career for me started with Taste Carolina Gourmet Food Tours. I was a tour guide in downtown for 8 years. And so all things downtown just make me smile because I lived in the country and I love to go to town.
Right.
And when you told me that this experience was happening, Inspired, I really honestly was like, how do I impress this young man so that I can be a part of this? And I remember finding out that there were going to be limousines and there was a red carpet. And I was like, oh, this is great. I want to come. I want to do the VIP experience. And then I remembered I have other skill sets. And you allowed me to come and be a part of the behind the scenes of Inspired. So at this time, will you just share with our audience what Inspired is to you? How did you even come up with this experience? Let's start there.
So coming up with Inspired, it was now that I'm like really tracking back and like talking with people, it's really been like a kind of amalgamation. I've always wanted to say that word. Um, an
But that's a
amalgamation.
$10 word. And I can assure you, I don't know what it means. So can you expound upon, say it again?
Amalgamation.
Amalgamation. Will you
So
talk through
kind of
that?
a hodgepodge, if you will, of ideas and conversations that I had over the years, especially with another poet named, he goes by Old Voice, but Lamont Cox, that's my guy, LC. So
Where's he from, Curtis?
he's from Kinston, North Carolina. He lives in Greensboro now, but he spent most of his life growing up in Kinston.
He's married to
Um,
my sorority sister. You see how this family reunion thing works?
he's so funny. But in having a lot of conversation with him over the years, just about like him being a performing artist and poetry and shows and things he liked and didn't like, etc. So all that stuff was kind of sitting in my head when I just kind of one day decided to have a show. And so for me, it was just trying to figure out how to have that show without being on stage because I don't perform, don't want to perform, but I can write. And so I was out in near Chicago, in the suburbs of Chicago, and just started kind of writing some things down on paper. And then like immediately went into action with one of my friends, and we started looking up venues and all that good stuff. And so when I got back to Raleigh, then it was kind of all right, feet are on the ground, like let's go. So that's kind of how Inkspire was born, was just me wanting to do something with my poetry, which was gonna be putting out my book, which still hasn't happened. But then that turned into, oh, I have a book that I've titled Inkspired that I want to release. Why not just do a show called Inkspired? And so that's what happened.
I love that so much. I have vowed to never ask you again a simple question, but I'm going to tell the audience the question. So I love performers. I think that they are some of the most fabulous people on earth. I'm not a performer. I'm literally just up there wiggling when I'm dancing, or if it is, I'm never going to remember any lines. I don't even remember all of the children in order of birth. And so I thought this was brilliant and I was fascinated with it. And I just couldn't help myself because anytime that I have friends who are performers, my friend Ron Kitty White is an insurance agent with Oakfield Insurance. shout outs this morning to my good friend Ron Kitty White at Oakfield. Kitty, what time is the band going on? You know, it's just a standard connection to any performer to have more information about what they're doing. So I have to find a new question to ask you. As my question used to be, Curtis, uh, are you going to perform any?
Never, never, never. You caught me off guard with it not too long ago in person. You got all the looks, all the eye darts, all that good stuff.
It's almost disrespectful to
It,
ask.
it is. It is. And people ask me every day, well, why don't you perform? And then it's the ones that they ask me, and then I tell them why, and then they still be like, well, I think you should. I think you're selling yourself short. I think you'll be better than what you think you are. So now, like over time, I keep changing my answer to
Yes.
where my answer will make sense, and they just be like, okay. And I found my answer now.
Will you share that with us?
Yeah, they say, well, why don't you perform? And I say, because I'm not good at it, and I don't want to take the time to get good at it. And they'll be like, and so I think that second part, the part I don't want to take the time or the energy to get good at performing, then I think most people can make that click and say, oh, well, I don't want to do certain things either. So if I don't want to do something, I don't want to do it.
You have to teach people.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do. Well, Curtis, teach us about the inspired experience, if you will.
So the core of it is based around my poetry. I write normally anywhere between, I think the lowest has been 14 pieces for the show.
Our audio went out just a little bit. Can you repeat that?
Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep. So the core of Inspired is my poetry. And so typically I'll write anywhere between like 14 to 18 pieces for any particular show. And so there's poets and also actors that are hired to come in and present those pieces throughout the night. And so typically for a poetry show, you will have like, an open mic session, or you'll have, a featured poet that'll do like a set kind of in the middle of the show. But we kind of switched that up a little bit, where you'll have 6 or 7 poets in the show typically. And they're doing anywhere from 1 to maybe up to 4 pieces, but they're never going to be back to back. There's no featured poet. There's no open mic portion to it, anything like that. And so we've kind of added some things around the poetry for people who don't necessarily go to a lot of poetry shows, so they still will be able to kind of be reeled in, if you will, and then find out like, okay, I do like all of the arts and not just music. So we added a band. And so we have some live musical performances there. It's almost like a full-on concert going on. And then Crystal the Muse obviously is the host of the Inspired Experience, co-director as well. And so
let's go, Crystal the Muse. Let's just pause for a break for a second. Crystal is my fellow ambassador with People First Tourism. Crystal was recently featured in Visit Raleigh. This young lady is hosting Taco Tuesday. She just celebrated her 2-year anniversary at the Contemporary Art Museum. Yeah. As well as Crystal is a signature host at the venue on Sundays, a Black-owned restaurant, Southern cooking, breakfast. If you are coming into town and you are looking for North Carolina style entertainment, look for anything with Crystal the Muse.
Absolutely.
Okay? We want you to have what you cannot get anywhere else. And when I tell you, this young lady gives me, I can't speak for everybody, but she gives me what I need. And I adore her. I had no idea that she even knew.
Yes.
And she was my friend. And then I meet my cousin again, and I found out you're co-directing this experience. And I was like, wow, the universe loves me. Oh, it was all about me. I felt loved, Curtis.
That's funny.
So how long have you and Crystal been producing Inspired?
Me and Crystal met on the first Wednesday in March of 2018. Um, we had lunch a couple of days after that, and it's been all gas, no break since then.
Oh no, we're losing you a little bit, cousin. Okay,
Can,
so you met on the first Wednesday. Why I want to look at my calendar and see what the actual date was. That sounds like you keep that date on record. And for the fact
yeah,
that you remember it. So it was the first Wednesday of March, 2018.
yep. And then we had the first Inspired experience was August the 4th of 2018. Then we did one 100 days later, which was our second one, Inspired Reloaded. Then we wound up doing a Queens edition in May of 2019. We had our 1 year anniversary in November of 2019. So those first four shows were like in 15-month time frame. It was just a whirlwind. And we were just kind of going off the momentum. And we were just like, yo, let's have shows, let's have shows. And then of course COVID hit. We took 2 years off, and then we came back and we decided to do a free show for the community. And that was a treat for us to be able to do that. And then we did our last event, King's Edition, in February of 2023, and now we are on the heels of the 5 year anniversary celebration in November 18th of this year.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, who are your poets? If you can give us part of the lineup or everyone.
Yeah. So Rainique Dawson, one of my faves, she's coming back. She's actually an actress, not a poet per se, but I've worked with her several times, and so she's coming back to the show. We have another returning poet, Watson, Colin Watson, or Spoken Watson, as he goes by on stage.
Wait, Watson?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Watson's coming back, and we've had Watson in like this crazy kind of role in the pieces that he's done, but I'm gonna have him come in and be a regular old white guy for this show. We're not gonna have him out of pocket this time.
Watson is not going to code switch for us?
No, Watson is not code switching for this particular show.
Why did that bring a little tears in my eye?
He's actually done one piece in the show. In his first show, he did Black Conscience. But he also did a piece called Gingerbread Love, which is just a regular piece about love that he just absolutely like killed the piece. But since then, he's always been in like these larger roles in the show that calls for talk about racial injustices and things of that nature. And so now I'm like, okay, like let's let Watson breathe on that. And I have him actually doing a series of poems called journal entries. So this is only the second time that I've written a series for a particular poet. Rainique had Long Live the Same series, and there was 3 parts to that. And now Watson will come in and he'll do journal entry 1, 2, and 3 in this particular show.
Oh, I'm very excited. Yes, white people, please Inspired. And when I say white people, I mean Black, white, Puerto Rican, and Haitians. Educated. For the audience, my cousin says I quote a lot of rap lyrics in conversation, and I just don't even realize it's happening. And a lot of it is I'm a phantom of poetry. I speak poetically. I've been told my dialect, and rappers embody a lot of what I'm thinking. And so my dream is to see so many diverse participants of Inspired, because you are literally a part of the show when you go to Inspired. I don't know if you know that everybody believes they're in the show in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's designed that way.
Okay. Yeah. So I sometimes I don't live in the same reality as other people.
Right.
And I did see the cameras rolling, and I knew that they weren't just there for the poets. And I jokingly say this, that we're going to air one of your inspired commercials, and I'd like to put the one on here that I'm in.
Right.
But it is amazing to have a connection to poets, because I've seen them throughout the year too, Curtis. So
Right.
this is really a celebration of art in a bigger way for someone like me who just started. As much as I do, I hadn't been exploring my passion, and that is the creative community. So this is very exciting, and I hope that we do see an inclusive audience this year. So you've done that already when it comes to the poets, and I love, like we've discussed, that Watson's role is going to be white.
what what his role isn't necessarily going to be white in that particular way,
Oh,
but he's able to be himself. I should say that.
oh, he doesn't have to perform per se. He'll be, and that's a different turn, right? It does make sense that in a show that is very much infused with the culture of Black people, like one of the things I told you, and then we'll get back to your lineup. I was like, if I felt like I was in church, Curtis.
Right. Right.
It was a great, like a great afternoon service. It really
Yeah.
was. So who else is on the list of poets?
Oh man, we got CP Mays flying in from Houston, Texas. The guy LC Lamont that I just spoke about from Kinston a little while ago. They've been really great friends for a long time. So I've literally heard about Lamont talk about CP Mays and his writing and performing for years. Me and Lamont will be on the phone and he'll be like, "Yeah, man, remember the guy I told you about, CP Mays? Like, he sent me this piece to read over, and like, bro, he said da 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 da," and I'm just like, "Yo, like, who is this guy?" Because he's a little bit older than I am, and so when he was like really out on the circuit, I wasn't a part of like the entertainment, the slam world, the poetry world like that. And so I actually was in Dallas for a poetry festival called Poetcella a couple of summers ago. And he was there performing. And so I wound up seeing him perform. And within like the first 20 seconds of him performing, I just pulled out my phone and text Lamont. Was like, "Yo, he's the real deal." So afterwards, of course, went up and talked to him, and me and him just started kind of building some rapport. And so he's coming in. So I'm really excited about that. We have the number one female slam poet in the world, Ayana Florence. There's a couple of Ayanas in poetry that are really good, but Ayana Florence out of Charlotte, she'll be coming in. And she was a part of, in other words, in the Raleigh Film and Arts Festival as well. So
Oh man.
um, that's gonna be super dope. Then we have Coco Flo. Coco Flo,
Coco Flow.
she's from Kentucky, was in Charlotte, now she's back in Kentucky, so she'll be flying in from Kentucky, and she's super super dope. I first saw her perform in Fayetteville in 2019 as a part of a regional slam called Southern Fried. Um, so yeah, we got Watson, we got Rainy, we got Coco, we got Ayana, we got CP Mays, and we have I feel like I'm missing somebody.
Get your phone out, Curtis.
I
That's what
gotta
it's
get my phone out
for. We want to
because I
help
can't.
you.
My guy Roscoe Burnhams.
Oh, tell me about Roscoe.
Roscoe is the first poet laureate of Richmond, Virginia, and so
Oh man, I didn't even know states had poet laureates until recently. I got to meet uh who's um who's our poet laureate, former poet laureate. He's
sh-
very tall.
uh, so Dasan Ahanu is
Yeah.
The Piedmont poet laureate. Yep,
Yes,
and
and
he's a
I
monster.
heard him perform at the Taco Tuesday 2-year anniversary,
Okay.
and I was like,
Yeah,
"Man, can he fit in my purse? I'd like to take this
no,
guy
he
home."
cannot fit in your purse. He's very, very tall. Yeah, Dasan is one of the like goats in poetry. He is super, super dope, super intelligent, and understands how he wants to move throughout the poetry world as well. I don't know if you know, but he was in the fourth show that we had. So our 1 year anniversary show, he came in and he did two pieces. One called Summer '02, which was about my when my grandmother died, and then he did a piece called Cataclysm, which is. Have you ever seen the movie He Got Game?
Yes.
Okay, so you remember the pimp?
Is that with Wesley Snipes?
No, girl, that's Denzel Washington.
That's White Man Can't Jump. I'm still thinking
No,
about
yeah,
when he was
yeah,
coming
you
to the
thinking about White
show.
Men Can't Jump. So He Got Game had Denzel Washington and Ray Allen, the NBA basketball player Ray Allen, well, former NBA basketball player. But anyway, there was a pimp in the movie. So the poem Cataclysm is basically like that pimp, but he's in love with like his main chick, kind of. But then he's losing her because now she's just like, yo, I don't want this life anymore. And he's trying to like battle with saying, hey, I love you, like stay here. But then because he's a pimp, he's like you ain't gonna make it nowhere else. So it's kind of that, but it's called Cataclysm. It's one of my favorite pieces that I've
Send
seen.
that to me, because you know what? You know Bobby Brown.
We ain't talking about Whitney.
No, we talking about my Bobby Brown.
I
You know,
know,
I
that's
call
what I
all
just
my
said.
exes Bobby Brown. I had a Bobby Brown that was going through a little phase like that one time. Maybe this poem will help him.
I'll make sure I send it over.
Now, let me be clear, everybody. I call all my exes, every single one of them, Bobby
Bobby
Brown. If I'm
Brown.
talking to somebody and I have to reference something from a past love, I just say, yeah, you know what, Bobby Brown, one time he told me. It could be any Bobby Brown. Every ex that I've ever had, it's not a lot, you know, I don't have time for Bobby. But I remember when Bobby was going through a little phase where he wanted to, you know, stay in love. You know, he was a lovable. This particular Bobby, he was very lovable. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I could tell that Bobby really was like, can't we figure this out? And I was like, no, you go figure it out.
Right.
I'm going to go over here. And the name of the poem is what?
Cataclysm.
He was having one, I'm pretty sure, when what was happening here. This is happening, son.
Right.
That's a good poem. I haven't even read it yet. And then the time performed it. Do you have it on video?
Yeah. I wound up sending it to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'll send it to Bobby.
One of the Bobbies.
All of the Bobbies.
Right.
So, Curtis, you have staff. You have a production staff, right?
Yeah, I have definitely have a day of staff. Because without the show would not run at all. It would be a disaster.
I've actually interviewed your house manager, and JoJo is just a phenomenal woman. I tell her as often as I can. She scares me a little bit. She runs that show, Curtis,
Right.
and that's a lot of her character, and then it's also a testament to you and Crystal for being able to identify work ethic and infuse someone who can transfer skills of management into a creative space, which sometimes is a little bit difficult.
Mm. Yeah,
And yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, JoJo's been phenomenal, and first and foremost, like thanks goes to Crystal because that's how I met JoJo. I don't know, I just know they've known each other for a long time, and then all of a sudden one day we were coming up to a show, and she was like, "Well, this is JoJo. She's gonna help. She wants to kind of, da 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 da." And so I didn't really think too much of it. Another volunteer. Thanks, like I appreciate it. But then JoJo started to kind of really ingrain herself into the behind the scenes of what needs to happen, how it needs to happen, what Crystal's needs were, what my needs were. And so now she's, we're really, I think, budding on her taking an even larger step within what we're doing with the Inspired Experience. So JoJo's been great, and I think she's that. Even though like Crystal, me and Crystal kind of balance each other out because Crystal's one way and I'm another way. Like JoJo then comes in and like balances us even more, but then also gives that support to where it's like, okay, I got this. So we're super thankful to have her on board.
She is amazing. She is amazing. When you get a chance, check out an interview that she and I did together. It's very inspired, infused, because I saw a young woman doing quite a bit, and I know what it takes to produce, promote, to manage a show. And I was like, I just stayed out of her way. I
Yeah,
spoke when spoken to. And that's unusual for me, Curtis, but
true.
she had it under control. That's
Yeah,
unusual for me too. So kudos to your production team.
yeah.
I want to talk about how the city has shown you love so
Ah,
that you can be not only an entrepreneur, but an entrepreneur with paid staff and an opportunity to market who you are in multiple venues, whether it be through the city of Raleigh, being highlighted as being a recipient of partnerships with the city. So can you share what that experience has been like with the city of Raleigh?
yeah, absolutely. So it's been a couple of things, well, a few things now actually. So first was um the artist grant through the United Arts Council of Raleigh and Wake County. So it's a county, but it's also a city thing as well. And I told them in my, not in the application, but once we had to kind of like wrap everything up after the grant was over with, it was a $1,500 grant, but to me it felt like $150,000,
Yeah.
because when you're able to say, "Hey, this is something that I do that I'm passionate about and that I do well," and then someone says, "We agree, and we're going to give you a check," um, that then unlocked something for me because like if I can get one, then there's more that I can get. And so moving from there, I wound up getting a text message that had Seek Raleigh in it. And it was like, hey, read through this and figure out a project that you think will be a good fit. And so as I'm reading through it, through the application, I was just like, I already have something. I was like, I already have something. And so it was a piece called Dead Man Talking. I had this whole idea of having Mike Wiley be a part of. I think I lost you, cousin. Come back. I don't see video. I don't see audio. Uh-oh. Okay, I can see you, but your audio is off. Okay. Um, so yeah, so I had a project already in mind that I was already working on. I think that's a big point when it comes to these types of applications is already having something that you have in motion, because the more you can talk about it from a I'm doing this versus a idea type of thing, I think is looked at a certain kind of way. But went through the application process with Seek Raleigh, which was kind of made me a little anxious. Some of it I did right. Some of it I made a couple small mistakes and was able to get some feedback on. But in the end, they awarded me over $8,600 to put on this experimental piece because Seek Raleigh is an experimental arts project under Raleigh Public Arts. And so I was able to work with the esteemed Mike Wiley. And Watson was also a part of that piece that we wound up adding in there, that told the story of a man that's innocent that was on death row and was in an electric chair. And so as the piece goes through, then we wind up having some hologram technology after he's quote unquote electrocuted that popped up, and then it finished the poem as if it was his spirit talking. And so the city back that with their money, with their, prestige. And so it's super thankful for that, because then that just opened up even more doors, to be able to say, hey, I've worked with the city in this capacity. The city's been behind me in this capacity. And then that just kind of rolled into a whole nother grant, the Community Spotlight Project grant through the United Arts Council, which was a $10,000 grant, for this upcoming show. And so, the spotlight, if you will, for the grant is on artists, paying artists, which is something that
Yes.
me and Crystal have always done, but that we're super diligent about doing more of on a bigger scale. And so that particular grant is allowing us to be able to have these really dope artists come in and be paid what they want to be paid, one. But then two, it just raises the level of talent that is in the show, which the audience then appreciates too.
It was appreciated. It really was appreciated, Curtis, because I had never seen anything like it in my life. And one of the Bobby Browns, his nickname is Ghost. It was so cool. I felt like he was there. But there was a comment after the show that someone said this was good for my mental well-being.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
came in from out of state,
Yeah.
and to know that our city is touching people all over the world through Inspired, that's impressive, Curtis. It's also impressive to be awarded grant money, not
Right.
once, twice, a few times. The process of writing a grant, I had to accept that I could transfer my skill sets as a banker, but I had skill sets. A lot of times people do not know how to complete the application. And so you and I were talking prior to the show, and you said, well, the first thing is determining if you even qualify for the grant.
Right. Yeah. And it goes back to school. That's one of the things we learned in school, right? Like, read the instructions. And so it's a situation where if you read what the qualifications are, if you don't qualify, then you shouldn't be applying for the grant, because then you're just wasting your time. But if
That's
you
right.
read exactly what they're looking for, like the Community Project Spotlight grant, they want to spotlight artists of color, BIPOC, brown, black, et cetera, even underserved communities as well. So, you're talking about people who may consider themselves, be of the community of the rainbow community. So we've worked with everybody, like we don't discriminate. We typically don't even look for particular people of a certain race or gender or whatever. It's like, yo, are you talented or are you not? And if you're not, we don't want to work with you. If you're talented, we do want to figure out how to work with you. So because we've kind of taken that approach, it's like, yes, spotlight us so we can spotlight them, because
Did the sun come out when you started talking about Spotlight?
I think it did.
I can't make this stuff up.
All right. So the grant just really, it's allowing us, like I said, to be able to pay artists more money, because that's what the grant was for. So I was able to write the grant in a way that spoke directly to what they wanted to do with the money.
Curtis, there is just a big connect the dots for me. I mean, I sat with you when you wrote, I think it was the Impact Grant, and I was
Right.
supposed to be writing it, but I was really studying. I was like, okay, let me take this in, let me not rush. Timing, how do you stay abreast of when the grants are going to be open?
So there's a couple of things. One, you can get on an email list. And so then you'll get information about when certain grants come out. You can check websites, periodically, whether it's, I would suggest just monthly, just checking different websites or whatever. A good old Google search will get you going. That's what actually got me started and even thinking about grants. But then also building rapport with some of the people that are part of these organizations. if you're building rapport and you're, lending your time, your expertise, um, and having regular conversation with people, then they're gonna say, okay, well, look, we have this particular thing that's coming up, or maybe you should check this out, even if it doesn't have anything to do with them. So those are like the main things that I've done to kind of stay abreast of what's going on, what I should be applying for, what I can also sometimes pass to other people. Because sometimes I get an email and it has a grant and I don't qualify. I read it, I read everything, and so, but I'm like, but I know people who do. So then it's like,
Mm,
all right, let me pass that on to other artists, and then what they do with it is what they do with it. But if I've at least let them know, then I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
I love that. I've seen you post. If you have an event, let me share it for you. And you really do have like a what I call a support schedule. You called it that you were going to be something else.
Support horror. I am going to do a support horror tour, not next year, but probably the year after. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna probably choose about 100 different events that throughout the year I will not only go to, because I go to a lot of events anyway, but I'll actually like spotlight, and we'll do some social media content that I'm going, and then when I'm there and then after it's over with, because I really want to do that, but I want to also have like other support horrors as well. And we're
Yes.
just kind of just going up at somebody's event and we got 15, 20 people with us, because I know for me and a lot of other people who produce shows, like at the end of the day, you can be, all about the artist, you can be all about love, but yo, like you want people to walk through the doors, you want
You
people
do.
to purchase tickets. And so if you got one person that is galvanizing, you know, not even 5, 10, 15, 20 people, like somebody bring 2 or 3 people with them, like that's big, because then
Yes.
it doesn't take so much quote unquote work to get a certain number of people at an event. If you got 100 people that bring 2 other people with them, you just tripled your show. So I
Yes.
want to be able to have that sort of impact with people to support in that way.
I'm glad you mentioned that. As you know, I run a project management firm called Yearbook, and that's one of our goals. So we hope to be able to help you with your efforts of whoring. We'll
Oh man. Yo,
we'll
I
we'll
was go ahead. I'll say it in a second. Go ahead.
yeah, we will be out doing supporting, and I want the city to support that. I know that there are free tickets given to a lot of leaders in the community, and I'd like for them to be able to say, hey, we have some passes, because yes, we want to support financially, but also, as we used to call it, cheeks in the seat.
Right. Can't hear
See, the Lord didn't want me to make that comment.
you. Said
He
no.
said that's too much. He said that one's too much, babe. You and Curtis are talking like y'all on the phone, not
Right.
on video. You should, but it's the truth that when there's something that has a negative connotation and you transfer the skill sets into something positive and you still use the term, you are just being very truthful that you are going to be in this community out here just giving yourself away. And that to me, Curtis, is really servitude, because I've seen you early in the morning at a forum and I knew you were planning to go to a festival, and then you had to be back in order to represent your own brand. And that happened at the Raleigh Film and Art Festival, and we're going to talk about that after you make your comment. But what were you going to say?
Oh, I was talking about, because you said my whoring. I was at a play last night, and in the play, real quickly, it was it was so well written, first of all, and so well acted and directed. But they had like this white family. It's called Barbecue, and it's still going on for about a week. I think another week or so. They had this white family, but then the white family is trying to do this intervention on one of their family members. But then after maybe the first 15 minutes or so, they cut the lights, the white family goes off stage, and then a black family comes on, but they're the same people, but not the same people at the same time. And so it
Yes.
was funny because then toward the end, there's a back and forth dialogue between two characters, one white, one black. And so the black woman calls the white woman a crackhead like junkie hoe. And she was like, I was never, I was never a whore. She was like, I didn't call you a whore. She said, I called you a hoe. And so they were like talking about the cultural difference in how we say hoe and whore, but they are like two different things to us.
Two totally different things.
Yes.
Two,
Yes.
you know, I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna say the actual word because it's just so offensive in society. I always tell people, I'm an Aggie. If I'm a female dog, then that make me a BITCH. And I'm like, I have a lot of pride in this, people. A lot of
Right.
pride. A lot. There's a whole
Right.
in the living room. Got the whole Aggie pride over there. And when I hear it said, when I hear Meg Thee Stallion or Cardi B say the B word, I think of man's best friend. I
Right.
think of, you know, this little puppy that you take to doggy daycare when you're on holiday yourself. And so the connotation has other meanings.
Right.
It just depends on what you choose to internalize. And again, this is what happens when me and my cousin get on a podcast. Now y'all just gonna have to stay with us.
Right.
But Curtis, look, and then we segue into a global presence. You were featured at the Raleigh Film and Art Festival, Curtis.
Yeah, I had
I have to decide, do I leave that last piece in? Because that was a whole Jones County conversation.
it
That's,
was. It was.
Chris Moore is gonna be like, so did you have to have that conversation before you talked about the film
Right.
festival?
That was a segue. That was a segue.
But you know why though we have to do it? Because we don't have to code switch anymore. Our culture has some differences, and that play, I mean, it's perfect, right? We just went from talking about how you're going to support the community, but in words and terms that resonate with how we talk to each other.
Right.
And then to be able to say that you were featured in a global film festival ranked in the top 3% in the world, in the top 100 out of 12,000 festivals
That's crazy.
in the doggone universe that we know of.
Right.
And it happens right here in Raleigh.
Yes.
So that means you can be yourself and still get on the big stage. You can still be global. No one's going to spank you. And I always tell people this. I said she uses cuss words in her choruses, and we
Absolutely.
love this woman because she's simply authentic to who she is. I actually your book was hired, and so I got to work with the volunteers for the Raleigh Film and Art Festival, which is really a passion of mine. I love volunteering, and it was the same with Inspired. So I had no idea you were going to be there. I had no
Mm.
idea. I saw you walking around with your little book bag.
Yeah, I keep that with me. I'm surprised I don't have it on right now. Ain't nobody behind me, though. I just got a wall behind me right now, so ain't no point. But I had it on last night.
Curtis, the Raleigh Film and Art Festival, we will probably close out when we talk about the book bag, but the Raleigh Film and Art Festival, that opportunity, over 200 films, I believe,
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
three
And I was
days.
right, and I was so glad I got to see some. The last day I just watched films pretty much the whole day. So that yeah, it was great working with them. Being able to one see how that festival runs,
Hmm.
being able to build more rapport with Christopher and understand like how he's been moving and transversing through through what he's been doing to get the film festival to its 11th year, right, and going now into its 12th. So yeah, I'm super super great to be a part of it. And of course, as a partner, we wind up having Inspired, like you said, on the big screen.
On
So
the big screen.
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't even know Raleigh had screens like that weren't in movie theaters. And, so we're, shouts out to NC State for being the host venue for the festival. And I'm sitting there going, there is not only a big screen in the Hunt Library, but it's on a stage. Like, can this get any cooler? And the next thing I know, I see Inspired. And of course, my brain is very Shawnee's focused. And I was
Right.
like, that's my cousin.
All right.
I was so proud of you, Curtis.
I appreciate it.
I was very proud. Now, you've not said anything on camera about my attire.
Like dream girls, dream girls. Look better, look a little better than mine. I ain't put my tux on. I was gonna put it on, but then I was like, that's gonna be a little bit too much. So
You know what? The fact that you even thought about it. Curtis, you said something the other day. You said, I saw somebody said, I got my dress. You said, did you get your ticket?
Nope. They don't have their ticket. They're gonna get their dress before they get their ticket. They're gonna get their dress before they get their ticket for sure.
Well, and a couple of things. Last year, I did not wear this particular sequence dress. I have several. But it was very nice to be able to wear one, right? I was like, huh, I get to dress up. I get to do this. And I'm a repeater. I'll wear something more than once. I just don't feel like I have to wear something once. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
And so the dress I wore, I had worn on my birthday. It was my birthday profile picture. And I was actually like in front of my pothos. I had all these plants around me. And so for Inspired, I remember blowing out my hair. Like, my afro is going to be so big this year. I'm going to wear it again. I've decided it's another color. And I remember just seeing pictures or videos, and these earrings were just popping. And I had on this, the sequin dress. But what got me, this is what got me. I was like, I got to do something. I got to, spice this thing up. And so I threw on a white stole. It was just a little piece of fur that I got from Roses for $6.99.
Okay.
And honey, you could tell me anything that night. I mean,
Nothing.
I wish
Nothing.
somebody would have said something to me. Who told you? That's my grandma used to say.
Right.
Who told you?
It's funny that, and I'm like glad that people are wanting to dress up. Like, I'm glad that we made it that way, where it's like, yo, you have to dress up to come to Inspired, because one of two things happen. Either one, people go and they buy something, or they get something made, so that they can feel like $1 million when they walk in. Or two, like you said, like you had worn that on your birthday. And so what I found is that some people will wear something that they've worn maybe once or twice, but only on special occasions. I was in Salt Lake City Airport last week, and I saw this girl, didn't know her or whatever, and she was holding like some roller skates. And so it made me think about the new skate park here in Raleigh. And I'm like, oh yeah, the skate park. I forgot about it. Opened up. Went and got bored of my plane, ain't think nothing else of it. Get off the plane in Denver. I go to the bathroom. I come out and I'm sending an email. I'm just standing in the airport, sending an email. And I hear somebody go, excuse me. And I look up, and it's the girl that had the skates. And I had on an Inspired hoodie. And she was like, Inspired. She was like, you do events, correct? She was like, that's an event, like a poetry event. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, it's poetry, music, art. She was like, my mom does your, she said, my mom does your VIP cards. So there's these cards that we've had for the VIP, where I write like a short little poem or a short saying, and I'll sign it. And it kind of like has the logo on the outside. You can just open it up. So it's a little keepsake for VIP. She said, my mom does your cards. And so we literally were in the Denver airport. We both had a long layover. and we went and got food. We talked for like 3 hours.
You're
So
trending in real life.
right, but my point, she had a bunch of stuff with her. She had just went to a wedding in Salt Lake City, and the dress that she had in her bag is the dress that she wore to the Inspired that she came to. And she said she hadn't worn it since she had worn it at Inspired. So people are always, either stepping out and getting something new, or they're wearing something that they would wear to another special occasion. So that's always good.
Oh my goodness. That is so inspired.
Right.
It really is. I am repeating something I've worn. One of my experiences is I do glow party tours, and I
Mm-hmm.
used to go to different places, and I said, "Well, that's no fun. It's not fun at all. I don't. That's actually work. I've done
Right.
that. That life is not sustainable. I'm older now, and so I went on tour. I just took the party on tour, and
Right.
we've done it a couple of times. It's made a huge impact in the community because I will always support small businesses as well as nonprofits in terms of brand awareness while I'm on tour. And the last one that we did was for Camp Fusion. And because we did some pre advertising, as you mentioned earlier, it's really important when launching something. Wake County saw the commercial and they called me and they said, Nisi, we would like to sponsor some participants to the camp. And it was when I knew, trending in real life is important. Community is important. Curtis, you bring people together, you employ people. You had someone say, my mama is
Right.
on staff with your production company. And right now I have the dress I wore to your experience halfway across the nation. And
Yeah.
that's alignment. That is definitely a testament to the fact that you've just built something amazing. So I will be wearing an LED light glow experience.
Of course you will. Of course you will. Can someone turn her lights out, please? We're trying to do a poem.
Me. I'm sorry. Look, I don't even know half the stuff I do is wrong.
He's so funny.
Well, Curtis, I'd like to spend a little time talking about your partners and vendors that are working with you for this particular experience.
Yeah, so shout out to WUNC, North Carolina Public Radio. They are back.
And
They're back for the second show that they're sponsoring. They were the first sponsor that ever cut a check, so forever grateful for them. Um, I was writing the article about them for the Inspired Experience magazine that's coming out. This would be our first issue, but I was talking about how they're putting their money where their mouth is. They do a lot of talking, talk radio. But they've also said, okay, these are the values that we hold true to the community, and et cetera, et cetera. But they're actually showing that by supporting not only Inspired, but also other artistic endeavors that people have. I know Josephus out of Greensboro with the Poetry Cafe. They've been supporting him heavily, and he has a syndicated radio show on NPR now. So that's super exciting to really have them on board. IMEC Virtual Academy. They work with little kiddies out of Maryland, but they do some B2B business as well for other daycare centers. But they also have a small theater program. So I'll be kind of working with them in the future to kind of spotlight some kids that may, well, okay, about 15 years, I'll be able to work with you. And then the United Arts Council of Raleigh and Wake County, we're supported by them through the Community Spotlight Project grant. And then we start going down. There's a whole list of partners, promotional partners from, Art Space to the Raleigh Arts and Film Festival that we talked about, to the Poetic Just Us podcast, the Black Friday Market, Good Trip, And then some of our other sponsors, Mind, Body, and Sense, who everybody loves her candles. So
Yes, we
VIP,
do
yes,
and
VIP will be
do.
getting those again. The Right Village, that's run by Mel Wright,
Yes,
has
shouts out to
been,
our co-working spaces.
but it's so much more than just a co-working space. Like, I've gotten so much free business coaching through
Mm.
the Right Village. And then not only that, but a ton of networking that I've been able to do that has really aided, inspired, and being able to help connect other people to other people. So I implore, if you are a business owner of any kind, like, check out the Right Village and become a villager, because Mel Wright and the Village, they have a ton of resources, some paid, some free, that you should definitely tap into. I'll be wearing David Vachon at the show, so I'm super excited about being able to represent myself, but also represent another Black designer that's really really doing this thing with some high level stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
my son wore David Vachon to prom.
I know he was looking good then, because
Well, we went to take pictures, and as we were leaving 10th and Terrace, she said, "Look at his suit." And I thought to myself, now listen here, the girl is cute. And I know my baby look good, but all you see is David Vachon. And I thought
right.
to myself, that's why he's wearing it.
Right. Absolutely. The last couple more, we have Broadstone, Oak City,
Yeah.
apartment homes. Broadstone is a beautiful place to live, but it's also catered toward artists and business owners. Like, they have their own co-working space there, so you don't have to leave. If you're working from home, you can leave your home without leaving your home, if you will.
Right, right.
Um, and so that's where we'll have our VIP mixer. Then we also have Beyond Yane. So I don't know if you've ever been, but Yane has a store over on Rock Quarry Road, not too far, right up the street from Word of God. And she has like all this cultural, like, necklaces and dresses, and she has a lot of dope stuff in there. Um,
Is
and
it by
she
the juice shop on Rock Quarry?
I don't know where the juice shop is, but it's literally right up the street from Word of God, almost across the street from the high school that's right there on the corner.
Yeah, look, this is that Maysville talk. I think she over there by
Right,
where the
right.
hair braiding place is, and
Yes. Yes, she's over there. She's
you
super
know
dope.
that's across the street from my neighborhood. I'm going to walk over and say hello. This is my
Beyond,
neighbor.
yes, Beyond Yane. Tell her I sent you over there.
I
Um,
will.
And then we have so Erica Batts, your home loan chick. She does, helps people get finance for homes. So if you need a house, that's who you need to hit up. And then last but not least, we have City Soul Cafe, which is the open mic where me and Crystal met at. It's the open mic where everything just kind of started for Inspired. But then also Griot and Gray Owl Black Writers Conference, that is coming up the weekend before Inspired. Um,
Oh man, we'll have to definitely get that information. That sounds fabulous.
yeah, and so the conference part itself is sold out. It's their first year. They've already sold the conference part out, but they have some ancillary events around the conference, like a poetry slam, a couple other things that there are still tickets for. But me and Crystal have been able to work with Kalisa and LB, a husband and wife team, who have headed that up to have the Black Writers Southern Conference right in Durham, North Carolina. So those are all of our partners, which has been great, because we haven't always had sponsorship. We haven't always had, promotional partners. And so it just helps a lot to be recognized by other entities, to be supported by other entities. And then when other people see that you're supported, they also then want to support you as well.
Yes, one of the things I would love to do is just congratulate you on being visible in our community, being the kind of person that brings awareness to other businesses. And we sometimes forget it's not just the name on a banner. I mean, the home loan chick, I definitely want to get in touch with her. Many people don't know this, but I was a banker for 20 years, and
Mm,
people still call me and want to get a good referral. You just told me I have a neighbor that has a small business that I can go visit and patronize. This is the beauty of community. This is the beauty of gathering. This is the beauty of sharing your gifts. And I'm so proud that not only do I respect you as a fellow creative, I am really, truly honored that God chose for us to be real cousins.
Not real cousins.
Because I have a lot of family, but I'm trying to tell people. I say, no, no, get the Q-tip and swab your cheek. He is the cousin.
Right, right, for sure.
Curtis, thank you so much for joining us. SP, the writer. I know it was already early for you.
Well, it's coming up to shows. I'm normally having to do something where I'm getting up early, so this actually isn't too bad. I got to actually sleep last night, um, so yeah, I'm good to go. I got
I
a
appreciate
a
this.
full
Oh,
day,
I
full
so.
weekend.
Well, we have lots of wonderful experiences coming up with your book that I look forward to sharing. And I'm so proud of myself. I took some advice from you. One of the things you said about when you write grants is do not talk about everything that you do. And I loved hearing about you today. And you talked about all the wonderful things inspired. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Same to you.
Thank you. We're out. Stay tuned, guys. We're going to have some shout outs coming to you on yearbook_Raleigh at Instagram. Curtis, why don't you give everybody your social media handles and where they can purchase Inspired tickets before we head out?
Cool beans. So you can follow me at SP the Writer. There's no underscores and nothing, just how it sounds. SP the Writer on Instagram. You can also follow the Inspired Experience, INK. That is the Inspired Experience on Instagram as well. Um, if you want to get on the text list and you get updates, just text the letters SP to the number 888-549-0199, and that'll send you the link to get tickets. But the tickets are on our website, spthewriter.com/tickets.
And did you still have VIP tickets?
We have a few left. They're almost gone. I think there's 12 as of yesterday. I think there's about 12, and I talked to a guy yesterday who's about to get about 2 or 3 of them. So VIP has thankfully has sold out our last two shows, I think it is. So they'll be gone pretty soon.
Yes, yes, they will. Well, Curtis, I'll probably have a toast and invite your cast. It's one of the things as an ambassador that we've been curating. We invited the North Carolina Theater actors and actresses from Beautiful, which was the Carole King story, and we just want to start, showing our appreciation in the creative community. Keep up the good work. You're leading the way, paving paths, and I'm right there watching every minute and working to just really be a contributor because you're modeling a great behavior. I appreciate you.
I know that. I appreciate you because you're the C-suite executive, even though you don't necessarily realize that all the time. But I think you're starting to kind of tap into a little bit of that. And so it's dope being able to watch that because I see a little bit of me in you. So I'm like, okay, if cousin's a C-suite executive, then that means I'm from the same family tree. Then maybe I'm a C-suite executive as well. And so I
You
think
you definitely schooled me on myself. I was running around here just being friendly, doing what I've felt I've been called to do, but there is something to being able to manage these projects at the level you do, Curtis, to be able to know who your political leaders are in your community and to be able to have a conversation that bears fruit. And it does take a certain level of executive understanding. And
yeah,
so I appreciate you for seeing me for who I am and helping me to see myself.
no doubt, no doubt. We do the same thing for each other. So that's what it's
Me
about.
too. I said, this Joker, he got a grant. We
Listen, looking for another one.
we're going to help with that. I'll be doing some workshops, really just showcasing what I'm learning and using my underwriting and credit memo skill set, and just going through. I work a lot with the seniors, Curtis, and so one of the things I want to do is get them to come out. I'd love to see more educators come. We just need to make sure that we do what we're doing, which is continue to share information and just get up, get out, gather. And Inspired, honey, between
Mhm.
the red carpet and the limousines and the sequence and the LED lights, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
What I prayed for.
Right. Right.
I love you, cousin.
All right. Love you too, cousin.
All right, bye.
Bye.